to OverBoost 48. OverBoost is a podcast interview series featuring discussions with speedrunners about their history in speedrunning and gaming and the runs they're passionate about. I am your host, PMC Trilogy, and with me today is Bobby, the Blacktastic. Bobby, thank you so much for giving me this time.
Of course. Thank you very much for extending the invitation to be on this platform today.
Now, I always like to start these off with current events because I feel like I'm taking up people's time, but they're always working hard on things. You're working hard on a lot of things. I had to actually, I was lucky this week. I was fortunate sort of in a way to have a sick day on account of vaccine side effects. And so it gave me some extra time to watch some of the stuff that you're up to. The thing that I wanted to highlight up front, chances are people listening to this kind of podcast are familiar with GDQ. They've probably watched maybe some mainline GDQ events. Between the mainline events, Games Done Quick does a lot of other content. They host a lot of other content on their channel. And I had the opportunity to watch through your most recent episode of Super Boss Brothers, for which you're one of the showrunners. Can you give people the sales pitch? Can you explain what this show is?
I mean, if you want to pitch, I can just basically pull up the little intro here.
Absolutely, do it.
I definitely love it, but definitely Super Boss Brothers hosted live on GDQ Hotfix, where every other Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're bringing you two fiercely skilled retro gaming veterans and pitting them against each other in a myriad of hand-picked challenges to find out who is the super boss. So when it comes to GDQ Hotfix content being speedrun and speedrun adjacent, this is probably the most non-speedrun content that you would see on this channel. I want my kind of like vision for the show. Like, it's a cool thing because John and I had pretty much two things that we wanted to bring to the table to kind of toss our flavors into like one really nice hotfix show. Mm-hmm. So my vision was okay, there are a lot of good speedrunners out there. There are a lot of people that grind their game. There are a lot of people that grind a solo game or a couple games at a single time, and that's a grind. And they get that top 10 time, and that is definitely amazing. That's certainly an accomplishment, especially for all the retro games going on today. Okay, what about if we have them play Marble Madness? Okay, go ahead. A game I wanted to put a game that they've, or a category, or a sort of victory condition that they've never they're not familiar with. And the thing that I like about competition, because I came from a competitive esports before this, was that the ability to adapt, the ability to learn quickly and kind of demonstrate your skill based on that. So that's 7 different games that these two contestants are just going to be oh, okay, how do I do this? And it's going to be a contest of maybe trial and error, or failing to learn as an experience. And that is definitely probably some of the content that's furthest from speedrunning, one take marathon, trying to be super safe about it. Really keeps people on their toes, and it definitely reaches out to that certain audience. And yeah, we've been doing this for quite some time. We're about to be going into our 15th episode tomorrow. And John's vision, hosting a game show to grand spectacle, and definitely having that element of surprise when it comes to wowing not only the contestants so they have fun with it, but also the audience, the people that'll come back Friday after Friday for for game shows.
Yeah, so, I really wanted to compliment, because when I was watching it, I watched episode 14, the most recent one, and it gave me some of the joy I had experienced from watching things like the mystery game tournaments. Maybe you've seen those, but I also wanted to compliment how well curated the goals are, because I always feel that's the most difficult part of that kind of blind challenge format, is you want goals that are well tailored to both of the or all of the people you have involved in the competition.
Yeah, Yeah, you definitely want to have like a victory condition that's easily achievable within an amount of time that like doesn't that isn't like too generous, so it doesn't like drag on like really long. Like, all right, Mega Man is a really good I always love bringing Mega Man to Super Boss Brothers whenever I like curate the game list myself. Like 8 Robot Masters or complete Wily stages, like that's really cool. And then it kind of doesn't matter if they complete it or not. Like we usually judge on like how far they get to begin with, so like a pretty short time, I feel like it not only does it kind of give the players like a kind of like, oh crap, I gotta think on my feet, like that sort of like competitive side that we were talking about a little bit earlier, but it's also just like good for time, like if someone knows Mega Man and can like completely beat them in 15 minutes, I'm pretty sure they can. I would love to see that in Super Boss Brothers. That's what I like to see. But if they can't, that's completely fine as well. Like we'll still see like a lot of the content that the challenge has to offer.
Now, you mentioned earlier that it seems like part of the origin story was that that John wanted to host a sort of game show type thing. Is there anything more to it in terms of how you got involved with you and Big John in running a GDQ Hotfix show? Is there a specific origin story?
I feel like there was the GDQ like Hotfix staff was like really like wanting to expand like their portfolio of like Hotfix like shows, especially since like there are a lot of like other speedrun brands that run 24-hour content. And I really like the fact that Hotfix has a lot of like live varied content day in and day out. Like around that time, like this is definitely like last year, and like the sort of like injustices that we're dealing with now, we've been dealing with then and all that stuff. So like a lot of like our voices of like POC like content creators, kind of like myself and Big John, were kind of like elevated in that that aspect, which was really good because a lot of eyes were like like got or like were like really like on us, and then we got reached out to for like a sort of like like joint segment, because like we've done like a lot of kind of like joint appearances and like marathons like before, like you've seen like his performances of like ESA, mine's with like Mega Man 9 and like all that stuff. Like people really loved our energy, and like I've known John for about better part of like 5-6 years now, and we like have like that sort of chemistry, and like we kind of had like like a sort of like vision to like run something like this to begin with, like well before we got the chance. But it was just like really great that like they reached out to us, and really not really adding a splash of color to that lineup there.
No, definitely welcome on multiple counts. I think at this point you've described sort of multiple dimensions in which Super Boss Brothers is just improves on the lineup of GDQ Hotfix content. So I'm glad to see it. I really enjoyed it too. I also just wanted to say, I don't know if Big John will ever watch this, but I related deeply to his sense of like confusion about VTubers, which isn't to say that either of us are talking negatively about VTubers, just unfamiliar. I definitely related to that very much. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. It seems fine. It seems fun. I'm gonna roll with it.
the thing about John saying about it, and probably like another extent you like, but like there was like a very like boomer way of like looking at it, like I don't know what this is, like like I don't even know what a Pikachu is, like that okay all right like but I wanted to do a sort of like specialty episode on that to kind of educate people on it, like we try to do a whole bunch of like specialized and like theme, especially when it comes to a lot of the groups that probably could use a spotlight. We've showcased a handful of women. We've showcased the VTubers, and we're definitely working to kind of like include a lot more groups within our within our program, because like I feel like that's a thing that we can do, because we're not reaching out to have you do like a pretty like focused try-hard-esque speed run, you know what I'm saying? Like this is a platform to our show to have fun. and to showcase the various games that are out there, and also the people of the speedrunning and retro community that are out there as well. So
absolutely. No, and of course, obviously, part of why I brought this up is because, people should check it out. Certainly Super Boss Brothers. I know there's other good hotfix shows as well. I think former guest Dices now runs one. I was on Community Spotlight back in November, run by Railcoon. Lots of good stuff. That channel is always popping. Let's kick off the proper script. Let's go back in time. Speaking of gaming, where does your story with gaming begin? Like, what gets you into gaming? Does it come from family, friends? What does that come in?
Oh, that comes from pretty much like everybody, but like at the core, it was from a young, from like a very, very young place in my life, like, at childhood. I was raised by my mom and my grandma. I was raised by very powerful women who knew that they had a very smart child in their hands, and that they would get him to do what they wanted to if they gave me video games. So I was raised on the Super Nintendo, and the cool thing about that is that they didn't just like leave me to my own devices. A lot of the Super Nintendo games out there, especially like the extremely family friendly ones, Mario, Donkey Kong, actually had a pretty cool like cooperative 2-player like component. So we would like take turns being Mario and Luigi, like either clearing stages in Mario World, or playing in Donkey Kong together, tag teaming. Like they made it like they made it like really engaging in like a really main way for like us to bond, and things like that, because like there were a lot of memories, like a lot of laughs that I could tell you about from playing like those games with them. But that was pretty much it. And then it really let's see. It really came to a head because like when I was able to like save up and like buy like a whole bunch of other like consoles and games like myself, because like I was definitely raised very spiritual, very Christian, so like a lot of like the T-rated or like violent games like couldn't like fall into my hands or anything. But I really liked fighting games, really loved Killer Instinct, but that wasn't until later in my life. But yeah, it was definitely like with family, and through like all of that, like me and like my cousin, like especially like loved being like competitive. Like, so at the time, like we would love like playing fighting games, Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the Super Nintendo and like all that stuff. So it was just like really, really good times. Like I felt like that competitive spirit and building a bond, camaraderie through fighting games with a family member as well, like at very early age.
Do you still have a lot of your original ancestral equipment, or has that not survived the years?
I really wish I did. So in 2016, my grandma passed away. But before like all of that, she would have kept like all the ancestral equipment, like my SNES with like all of my like original games and all that stuff. When she passed away, like things were like so hectic within like those 2 weeks that like it just like disappeared. I don't know like where it went. I've been spending a lot of time trying to build back up my Super Nintendo collection, to which a viewer of my stream like generously like gave me like one of his SNES consoles and a couple of games. Like I was missing like Donkey Kong 1 and 2. Like it's still an extensive list, but like like that really like that was a really, really kind gesture. But yeah, I'm slowly building that back. All the other equipment, Bobby was got older and was a dumbass and like sold everything. So like this is the one story that I hate telling because it just makes me feel so low.
Sounds like excellent podcast material. Let's hear it.
It's not even like anything bad. It's just like, why would you do that? So like again, like I was really into fighting games. Like I really wanted to get like into that competition. I met a lot of friends like through fighting games, like especially like at a really young age. Soul Calibur 2 came out. Oh my lord, Soul Calibur 2, like the graphics, it released everywhere. You know, Link was in the game. Come on, I got the PS2 version anyway, but I wanted that so bad, and I definitely could not wear because I was like 12 or something. I don't know. I literally don't know. But also mom was like, you know, like definitely like either for your birthday or like, why are you still asking me for video games? I was like, ugh. I took my old Nintendo 64 and all of my games and I sold all of it. All of it. For like a measly, I don't know, like 54.73, like just barely enough for Soul Calibur 2 and the strategy guide. And that also, yes, yep. Oh no, they had to bundle it. Good old Game Crazy, you know. Yeah, that definitely included Super Smash Brothers. That definitely included Ocarina of Time version 1.0, I would assume, and Majora's Mask. That would also include Earthbound. Or sorry, not Earthbound. Harvest Moon. I don't know why I said Earthbound. Yeah. I was thinking of Ness from Smash Brothers. Harvest Moon 64. Like all of these nice Jet Force Gemini, Golden Knight. Oh, I'm just, my stomach just churched just thinking about it. Just saying that, like all that measly 54 something. No. Did I regret it? Probably not. I don't know. I love Soul Calibur. I love Soul Calibur.
When would you have regretted it? Because I feel like at that time, I mean, I remember Soul Calibur 2 coming out as well, and that was the hot stuff. Like, of course you had to get that.
Absolutely, but and like it was great, and like it really kickstarted like a love of like, you know, fighting games and like also competitive, like the competitive community at large. Now that I'm like, you know, picking up retro odds and ends and things to, you know, speed run and like definitely, you know, bringing things from my childhood back because, you know, they bring me pleasure. I still do not have a Nintendo 64 again to this day. Like, you know, so I mean, yeah, that's the most embarrassing. I mean, not definitely an embarrassing story.
Yeah, it's probably not the worst one I think we've had on the podcast. I think the worst one. Probably, and I'm not going to name who it is, but there is one person who went abroad with their PS1 and just plugged it into an outlet and immediately fried it. So, you know.
Who was that? Was that at an ESA last year? I'm pretty sure.
Well, that might have happened. Well, the thing is, I feel like though with the Europe plugs, it was a Southeast Asia story. Like they went home to the Philippines to visit family. And
I know a couple of people who plugged in their like SNES and I think a Sega Dreamcast without the proper converter and just instantly fried, and he tried to put everything that on.
Yeah, that's no fun at all. You hinted actually. So one of my usual questions that I like to ask is the sort of milestone question about taking ownership of the gaming hobby, because we're adults, presumably, sort of, maybe, and we are now owners. You know, we have to buy all our own stuff, and at some point, it was mostly our money that was doing that instead of being gifts or, you know, other or sharing or whatever the case might be. Would you have a milestone where you're like, you went out and you got a console or a computer or something for the first time, and it was really all your own money, whether that was from a job or something else?
It would probably be the first laptop that I wanted to get for streaming. So like I did work like a couple of jobs before heading to like college and like getting like grant money for other things and like all that stuff, but trying to get something to kick off like streaming, because like, okay, so this kind of like all comes like interconnected anyway. So like while I was doing my whole like, you know, competitive fighting game community stuff, you know, Justin TV was taking off, and you know, people were watching other people play video games just as we do. One of our first instant fascinations with Justin TV, us as a fighting game community, was the ability to speedrun. We were watching Super Mario 64, and we were watching good old Siglameg do the thing. Like, and we young minds, I think I was like 14, 15 back then, absolutely fascinated. I like not only did I want to like do some of that, but I also want to do some fighting game stuff on the side because I was pretty good at fighting games then. Wanted to save up to buy, like a sort of like, portable like laptop or something. I did not know that I would need something way more powerful than a laptop. Which would, so like I could not, when I finally got the laptop, it was like, it was like months of like, building up from like 2 jobs of working at like Target and this other food place as like a dishwasher. I bought my own like setup, little laptop with like a the good old, what do they call them? The good old Dazzle. Remember the good old Dazzles? Yeah. And luckily I had an old school Xbox 360 that still had AV ports and all that stuff. So I was good on that front. Was not good on the hardware specifications to stream all of the extremely graphically intensive fighting games that were on the that were on the platform. They made Marvel vs. Capcom look so dang pretty and so like so every time that I streamed it looked like bitrate vomit. It just would not work. But
yeah, that would be harsh in the encoding. And also too, I mean the I'm trying to think of, it sounds like when you would have been doing that. One of the things I always like to ask, especially when people got into streaming like before, like I'd say like earlier than 2016, the programs you're using are way different. Like I feel like now it is relatively, I say this having done it for a number of years, so it's probably not as easy as I think it is. But like OBS Studio, a fairly nice program at this point. What would you have been working with trying to stream, MVC3 at that time?
It probably would have been XSplit. A lot of partnerships with the fighting game communities and like their events were like also through XSplit, which were and like they had their partnerships and like their dealings and all that stuff. So like we worked with them with a lot of like regional broadcasted events as well. So I was lucky to grab like a premium license for like a couple of years and all that stuff to get all that going. And that was pretty building block for a streamer, especially if you had just like we're working with like external captures and like all that stuff, like and no one, when they wanted to go into streaming back then, cared about their presentation. They just wanted to get something up and they wanted to roll with it. Yeah. Cause like it kind of like didn't matter then. A lot of the, especially in fighting games, like it was a lot, based on personality. So like it kind of like doesn't matter, but I digress. I ended up getting getting so many troubles with streaming like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and like all that stuff. But again, with this whole fascination with speedrunning, now I'm not really like the biggest, I'm not going to go out and play Super Mario 64. I will watch someone play Super Mario 64 like I did back then. So I wanted to I wanted to find something that suited me. Like, see if there was like something like out there. YouTube existed. Let's see. I searched up YouTube for like some of like my favorite games. I grew up with the Super Nintendo era. Really love Mega Man X. And for the PlayStation era was Castlevania Symphony of the Night was definitely a historic classic. I don't care who you ask. And that as well. I looked at that up on YouTube, saw Speed Demos archive videos of good old, Rob Scout, completely beasting this game in under 20 minutes. I was like, huh?
Yeah, wild, right?
I like over 20, 30 hours, I think, of like scouring every nook and cranny of the castle for like me, a player. And like, I thought I was pretty fast at it. Like, I spent a good couple of days, what was your playthrough? 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Okay. I definitely wanted to break this down to a science, like you definitely could for fighting games, like how to view things in that aspect. But like, that was the one fascination for me. Luckily, the equipment could handle streaming, emulators and the, captured, 2D content and all that stuff. So I started doing that. It was it was definitely like a long time of troubleshooting and getting everything right, because again, like, the constant like software bugs, like I would not imagine paying like upwards of like $1,000 for like Wirecast in 2013, 2012. I could not do it, but it was like it was like the best, most stable software back then. Like that's why the people who could afford it were probably like the the best streamers. But we were literally just we're just working with kind of what we had, and they were working with the feedback that we gave them. So it was a really slow process of like getting that stable stream going.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to read and how how the software evolved and how the production around it evolved. Like my background story is I never really played fighting games myself, but I loved watching tournaments in that period of time. And so like it was really exciting, of course, to talk to someone who is involved in some of that stuff. What would have ended up being the first speed run that you actually streamed and recorded yourself? Do you recall?
It was I want to say it's either a mix of like either Symphony of the Night for the Xbox 360 or Mega Man 9. Mega Man 9 is like, all right, so I had heard the hype of classic Mega Man games from everybody, like even before like I even dipped my toes into speedrunning. Didn't have an NES. Anniversary Collection was cool for like the GameCube, but like nothing really like stuck with me. Then Inti Creates kind of like blows our mind with this like incredible like back to 8-bit, back to basics experience, and this is something that I could experience with everyone else largely at the same time. A demo came out for Mega Man 9 before like the full product released, and I just played that same stage over and over, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people did. And like we're just like getting kind of like routing things out like quickly in our head, and I'm thinking of it like a training mode sequence in like fighting games. Like, what could I do to make this better? What sequence of inputs can I do to to go the fastest, to not have anything impede my progress, so I can keep holding right and jumping and not stop. Like a lot of these gears just started turning, and that's kind of like largely when I started to become like pretty fascinated with it.
And of course, too, I mean, Mega Man 9 ends up becoming a pretty big speed game for you, right? Because I think you played that game or particularly the Proto Man mode twice at GDQ events. Yeah, and also, there was a lot of like when I started like peeking my head around Mega Man 9, there was a lot of kind of like hype surrounding it. There was a top time video for Mega Man 9 90% for like I think it was like 32 minutes even by Private Eye, and it was like if it was lauded as like the most perfect speed run of Mega Man 9. Why can we not get on this level? Why is the RNG so good? So there was and I don't like I literally do not know like how I like found this like back then. But there was actually like a bounty going around like in like IRC or like something like that. But there was like like a base spin, and like people like donated or like chipped into like this bounty of upwards of like was it like 200, like 300, 500, like some pretty big money to break the 32. And there was a lot of new folks coming from out of the woodwork to work and route out like the speed run. And I thought this was absolutely amazing, because this is kind of like how people like when like a new fighting game come out, and like this is like I'm going to relate fighting games and speed runs like very, very constantly, because I just think like they're just like one and the same. But this is how like like when a new game comes out or when a new character comes out for a fighting game, how people just kind of like
They sit down, they route, they lab things out, they try to optimize things, they try to push that very character, that very mechanic, that very game to the absolute limit. And this is what a group of speedrunners do. I found that fascinating. And to have that happen for like one of my favorite games, or what would quickly become one of my favorite games, Mega Man 9, instantly sold.
Yeah, it's so exciting to be on that wave, like when a new game hits, or a discovery is made, which sets off a new wave of discovery in an older game. To be there, and it's like every few hours something changes. It's incredible, and I think you're not wrong. I was gonna have explicit questions about comparing fighting games and speedrunning. You're already there. You're already doing the work for me. You're talking about how you got into speedrunning, how you got into streaming. I don't need to ask questions. I can just kind of run with it. I did want to. Okay, so let's do some specific speedrun takes here. We already did your first speedrun. Of all of the speedruns that you have done, what is your favorite? And I mean like speed game, not like an individual instance, but like what speedrun you're like, oh, this is just, I love going back to this one. It's my favorite one to do.
I would say typically in a speedrun spectrum, the Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, like Zangetsu mode, is an absolute treat for me to like play, for me to speed run and grind, and for me to perform. I absolutely believe that there's a lot of action and there's a lot going on in that game, and there's a lot of categories for everyone to enjoy as well. Like for me, for Castlevania Symphony of the Night, like not only being one of my favorite games of all time, but bringing me into like the speedrunning community, like. And having this kind of like be like the spiritual successor to like that, like that Vania feel, like it just felt absolutely amazing. And like it controls absolutely well, like as a modern Vania should. And like it's probably one of the most like entertaining like spectacles. There's a lot to go over. And the run for any percent is about like maybe like 22-23 minutes on a good run. There's a lot to go over. There's a lot to like see, and this is I when I do my commentary, like I kind of like let what's on the screen speak for itself, and then we'll talk about various other aspects of the game. I think that's a lot of people that can like follow like visually like themselves. And
one question I was just gonna ask is when I watched one of those runs, one of the Zangetsu 20% runs for Ritual of the Night, and I was wondering, I couldn't help but feel like compare it to like Richter mode runs or something in Symphony of the Night. Do you think it's the same kind of feeling there? Like how would you compare that? Yeah.
Absolutely. The way that Zangetsu and Richter both control in like in their respective games are like fighting games. Like you have for other conventional characters, you have like your sub weapons, you have like your spells to like churn out and all that stuff. These are absolute like fighting game inputs, and like these are extensions of the characters themselves. Like you have to go like there are various like fighting game inputs, quarter circle forwards, and like forward back forwards, a lot of complex inputs that you would find like only in a fighting game, and like they would very in real time with low latency react. So it's one of my favorite fighting. It's one of I almost called it a fighting game because like you look at the move list for Zangetsu, you're like, okay, so that's a Hadouken, that's a Shoryuken, that's a down, like it instantly clicks. But
call up Iga, ask him to add a fighting game mode. It'll be fine. All right, it's close enough.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like Zangetsu, like already, like the Bloodstained universe is so, I want to say like so well established. Like you have like your modern, you have your classic, and it just makes Zangetsu just like so cool. I love performing the runs in various like events. I even use a fighting game controller.
Oh yeah, you use a hitbox, don't you? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I use this thing.
Oh, there you go. That's a
this was the one. This was the one thing that I used for Summer Games Done Quick 2018, and yeah, you can hear it is loud.
Oh yeah, no, I love those. I actually see. I never really got into fighting games myself, but I did build a stick, and I do love just. Just doing
that is beautiful.
It's great. I love it. So no, the button clocks are. Whenever I see those prompts, I don't know if you ever see the people. Once in a while on Twitter, I'll see someone like, "Do you like hearing keyboard noises on streams?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." I don't know if do you have any strong takes about that?
I believe there's a time and place for everything. Like I listen to like ASMR and stuff, like, you know, to help like go to sleep and all that stuff. I don't think that when I'm trying to, like, you know, perform like the way that I want to perform, I can't do it in an ASMR setting. But I would gladly, like, you know, like record, you know, a video of just like all day. But you know, a very, like, you know, often thing for me for a live stream, probably not, but, you know, I definitely like appreciate it. People hate when I type on my blues. Like, people absolutely despise. My roommate is like right over there. He doesn't mind that I watch basketball. He doesn't, you know, at a high volume. But when I click away at these blues, it is so grating to him. But yeah, I
guess I'm fortunate. You know, my spouse is like, no, I love the mechanical keyboard. It's soothing. It helps me go to sleep. I'm like, all right, well, that's fine. That's, you know, that works out.
It's great for me. Yeah, great for me.
All right, how about the flip side? Zangetsu any percent from Ritual of the Night is the best. What's the worst you've ever done? The one that you're like, I'm probably not going to return to this run. I tried it. It wasn't for me.
So I mean, so there are a couple. There are a couple categories for some games that I like, but there are also a couple of games that I just flat out like just did not click with at all. I think one of those is Mighty Number 9. So that was like, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago when it came out. Mighty Number 9 was out. I didn't buy it. It was an Xbox Game Pass thing. I had an Xbox One. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I like how he dashes. I tried sticking with it for a fair bit. A lot of the, if you actually look here on the speedrun.com like leaderboards, like a lot of members of like the Mega Man speedrunning community are on this list, and like, you know, we definitely, you know, spent our time, you know, kind of like, you know, pushing this game to its limits and all that stuff. It was just kind of a mess though. One of the speedrun attempts of Mighty Number 9 that I did, and I think it's like still documented as a highlight on my stream somewhere, is that I was on a pretty nice pace, I think, for like a top time, and not like a world record, but like, you know, like a pretty top solid time. And I died to the final boss, and it takes like a minute and a half to load up. Thank you, Xbox One. This is like the OG Xbox One too. Oh yeah. So not only that, but then it loaded in extremely funny. So like, you know, all right, you know those Unreal Engine games where it, you know, like the textures kind of have to like layer on themselves to make themselves look pretty and all that stuff. Well, this was at layer 1. Like this was absolute solid blue block. This was I wish I could have showed you this before we started talking, but like it was just absolutely horrid, and like I just spent the rest of the run with just like sour lemon look on my face, like, what even is this? Do I even want to spend time with this? This is 2016, dog. Like I absolutely do not want to go back to Mighty Number 9. Yeah. like there are some kickstarted projects that ended up great. Look at Ritual of the Night, still has content coming out. There is also Mighty Number 9. Who found its success with a 16-bit demake, Mighty Gunvolt Burst.
Oh, that's right. I always forget that's related.
Saved it by demaking it into 2D. So like, imagine that.
I mean,
so no.
Strange things happen. I'm still on the Kickstarter for Unsung Story. I don't know if you were on that one, but we'll see if that game ever happens.
Unsung Story, what's that about? That
was
sounds
the
like an
Final Fantasy
RPG.
Tactics one.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
I'm hoping. I'm not that hardcore of a fan of Final Fantasy Tactics. I'm a hardcore Final Fantasy fan. And I love it when I know and respect like Final Fantasy Tactics fans' appreciation for that game, respectively. Hopefully, if this game comes out, I'll be able to like with Mega Man 9, I'll be able to like kind of like have that experience along with everyone, and hopefully it turns out good.
Did you have any other games? It sounded like you had other thoughts besides Mighty Number 9. I wasn't sure if you wanted to share them.
I mean, like there are just like some categories. So like Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 has a whole bunch of like a whole slew of like modes and difficulties and all that stuff. And a couple of days after the game actually released, they released for free DLC this absolute heinous nightmare mode. Well, it's called Legend mode, but it's just so nightmarish. Like you take so much damage. There's just a whole bunch of enemies everywhere. Like, and there was already a pretty fair difficulty with Curse of the Moon 2, like I would say, and just having them just amp it like that to like near Kaizo-esque levels, like this is not fun. Like this is certainly not fun. So like there was a time where I like spent a day just trying to like I like to call them board wipes, where there are some like empty categories I'll just like might as well take, hopefully set a solid time for people to kind of take. There's actually some been some activity on the boards as of recently. I just don't think of revisiting those really hard modes again. Like they're not even fun to show off, you know? Like,
right. It's not even fun as a parlor trick. It's kind of limited. No, I definitely understand that. I am like, I don't know if you do much in terms of leaderboard moderation, but I'm always this stickler for here's an example, right? I'm a moderator for Just Cause 3. And every once in a while, I get someone who comes along and says, "Hey, PMC, why isn't there a 100% category for Just Cause 3? And I say, that's because no one has done a run. And I ain't making a category until someone does a run. And so I don't know,
I highly respect that. So I'm also a moderator for like Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2, but I wasn't the one to like absolutely make and categorize every category.
Sure.
But I felt like that could be good because I like when a player has options, especially when someone coming in that's new to the speedrunning community. Like I like when they have options, especially with like a game that they want to play. With Mega Man 9, I eventually swapped off to Proto Man because I just found them to be a bit more fun. So like I felt like detailing every category as kind of like mundane as it is, someone might be able to be like, huh, maybe I might be able to take that one, or maybe I'll undertake this as a project. When you present something like of an idea to them, they can probably take it into something of a passion project and probably show the world what they got for speedrunning.
Yeah,
no, I definitely do agree with just show me a run and then it's yours.
It's theirs. Yeah, absolutely. No, I just it happens every so often, and that's but I think you do bring up the good counter argument, which is for someone who might not be familiar with speedrunning or wouldn't have the confidence to just say, I'm going to do the speedrun that I want to do, because that's what that's what I try to encourage people is like. If you don't like that glitch or if you don't like that thing that in the run, but you still love the game, do the run that you want to do.
Yeah.
But of course, people want to be competitive too. People want to see that there's a board to go to. So it's a balance, and certainly it seems to me from watching I think it was the Curse of the Moon 2 that you did at AGDQ. Was it this past AGDQ that you did?
Yeah, it was this past AGDQ.
Yeah. that there are a lot of very explicit modes. This is not like player defined. This is it's right there. It's in the menu. You can pick them. So
now when we talk about like whether there's out of bounds or whether there's not out of bounds, like that's definitely splitting hairs, and that's definitely like we can when there is more activity and more collective minds within the community, then that's something that we can discuss.
We can have the community discussion on glitchless.
Yeah, but like when it comes to like absolute like modes that are like there there is a this and this mode. You can play as these characters. Like I feel like it's probably good to get that information out there.
Yeah, that's a good one too. In terms of either like subcategories or variables for characters, things like that. To really encourage that part of it too for games that that have that as an option. Here's one. Here's another individual speedrun game question. A game that you would like to speedrun, but you haven't gotten around to it yet, and that's just because you haven't had time or it hasn't fit in with what you're doing. What's a game? Well, you just I want to go out and learn this game next.
And there are so many good ones. Like I could like put this into like categories if I want to. So I think I'm going to. There's like a modern one. There's like a retro one that like I really wanted to. I think the Sekiro or like the Soulsborne like speed runs and all of that stuff, I absolutely adore those runs. I think those are so like technically grand. I feel like those are some of like the highest like risk reward for like performing everything optimal in like a one-time setting or like even like a marathon setting. The worlds just look really cool. Dark Souls 3 is one of my favorites. But Sekiro explicitly just because of like how fast like you can just like beat this game. Like I thought like there's like such grand scale to these games. There's so many bosses. There's so much to do, so much to collect, so much to fight. 20 minutes. Teach me how to beat that game in 20 minutes. There were a lot of revenge projects like for speedrunning, like Super Castlevania 4. That game kicks ass. Definitely will kick your ass at, when you're casually playing through it. You learn as a speedrun, you can hopefully blaze through it. When it comes to like that I've aspired to like do, just haven't had time with, like the Sekiro, like the Soulsborne, they're just like really, really good. And I
when you say revenge project, were you saying like because I feel like you talked you're talking about Sekiro, but you're also on Super Castlevania 4, because I do find when interviewing people that sometimes people like to get revenge on games that tortured them as a kid by speedrunning them and absolutely slaying them. So it sounds like maybe that was a part of it too there.
So here's how torturous my journey with Super Castlevania 4 is right now. Is that I did not I didn't grow up with it as a kid, but I've always heard from folks that like, oh man, like this is like one of like the hardest games, like this has kicked my ass, and I kind of like went into it like, all right, maybe I should like play through this game and like see what it really is. One, playing through this game casually, I absolutely love the game. Two, now learning or two, like going through that game for like the first time like a year or so ago. Yeah, that game's like really hard. Like I like maybe part of me back then was like, like we as kids we don't really maybe fully grasp game mechanics back then, or like we think a lot more than we did back then or something like that. So I'm like, maybe going through it I'll just beast through it. No, I did not. That Castlevania 4 is one of my like I have never had a game humble me so quickly. Like that's the thing. And then I learned to speed run it, and then it does the same thing. I have grinded for like a while for games that I really, really like to have top times in Super Castlevania 4, I'm like 45th, 49th, 50th, or like something like that. That game is hard. There is a lot of patience and a lot of honestly just like straight endurance to have with repeated attempts of that game. That I wish I could touch that game to like the capacity of like world record holders that could just turn out 31s and 32s and like that, you know. Another one is Ape Escape though, but we'll talk about that.
Oh, Ape Escape. Wait a second. Tell me more. I want to hear more about Ape Escape. I'll admit I'm a PlayStation kid, so I love hearing about this.
Monkey 1 is like one of my favorite game, like one of my favorite games that I grew up with as a kid. I definitely tracked it down. It's like right there, but like I got my PlayStation, got my cables and all that stuff. Like, and like even before all of this, seeing the a lot of the Ape Escape like runners like do their things like in recent years, and actually there was like a tournament going on, competitive Ape Escape going on. I think Ape Escape 1 is probably the best PlayStation platformer speedrun. Like RPGs are a different thing.
Sure, they're different. Platformer. But
I'm talking about platformer.
Okay.
It's a perfect amount of execution, RNG, out of bounds spectacle. It looks really nice and pretty family friendly. Like the music is extremely banging. It's under an hour. Always gonna have my platformer speedruns being under an hour. I just think I honestly, that might be like a hot take, but I think it is like the best platformer speedrun on PlayStation.
Right. It probably would be up there. I'm trying. The only one I can think of that I would maybe compare it to. I don't know if you've played Croc at all. But
I was just playing Croc last week, dog.
Okay.
And
how'd that go?
So amazing, because we knew the speedrun tech, we knew the float tech, and the float tech is so good once you get those long floats, and it completely made that game, a lot of the heinous platforming segments of that game, extremely great. I wouldn't call it the best, but man, is that a good contender.
It's got work. It puts in work. Yeah.
If I'm not going to say I'm a fan of the tank controls, but like I grow very used to them and very well acclimated to them, especially with a DualShock. But I feel like that game could control a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know, like Ape Escape has that crisp platform, those double jumps that, you know, but Croc is just so good. That was another one from my childhood that like just instant serotonin, honestly. So that's great.
Yeah, no, same. I definitely, I knew it was growing up. I was really mainly a JRPG kid, but like Croc was one of the few platformers that I had, so I always have some nostalgia for that. How about your favorite speedrun to watch that you have no plans to run yourself?
This would have to go through a couple of eras of Bobby watching people do speedruns, because like back then it was definitely RPGs. I was watching a streamer do like Final Fantasy 7 and 8 100%. He would be live when I woke up. He would be live when I went to bed. Final Fantasy 7 and 8 are among one of my favorite games. I could sit through it. Why would you pay for cable, honestly, when you can watch Final Fantasy 7 and 8 100%? Right now it's I still want to say like a bit of like the Mario games, because like especially like the newer ones, like Bowser's Fury, the new expansion that came out, super nice and cool. I played through Super Mario 3D World a little bit, you know, earlier in the stream, and I really like how that controls and all that stuff. Super Mario Odyssey, with its, you know, myriad of, you know, amount of categories. There's a bit of like you know, endurance level for how long you want to go in that game for anyone, I guess. But like I just don't think those things like really like sit with me. Like I don't know, Mario games are just like hard for me to like get in, especially 3D Mario games. Like I like sticking to 2D. There's a lot to go on with like 2D, especially if I'm like comparing all these to like fighting games. Putting that at 3D just mind breaks me, honestly. Canonless, I still don't know how to do. Like
That's a mystery. I watched. I definitely like watched a lot of. You talked about Siglemic earlier in the pod, and like I was summer 2012. I remember exactly where I was living. I was in an apartment in Virginia, and all I would do was like play Diablo 3 and watch Siglemic play SM64. That was it. That was the whole summer. So definitely. But like, how does Canonless work? I couldn't tell you now.
But it is like the best like background noise, like that will probably like be there. And the cool thing about Twitch is that you can find pretty much anyone doing like the exact same thing, and hopefully with a splash of their color, a little bit of their flair and personality as well. That's how we find the people you want to watch on the so end.
Absolutely. All right. The last one I have, and I was saving this because this is, we got a very topical period of time right now. Submissions have closed for SGDQ 2021 online, and we're not getting a games list. I think May 17th, I think, is when the schedule drops. That's what it says, at least on the website right now. And so I do have here your list of submissions. If you could pick one of these, if you got a free in, which one are you picking?
Mega Man on the Sega Genesis. I don't think there has been a Mega Man the Wily Wars speedrun at GDQ. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think so, or at the very least not like as of recent. And I know people love the classic NES ones, like the one like Mega Man 1 OKO edition on it for Cool Kid that did it, that he did it at GDQ. Absolutely phenomenal. I want to bring some new. I want to bring something different to the table. I think I've always been about that. You like Mega Man 9? Sure. Why not Proto Man 9? I think I've always been about that with like my speedrun palette, and I'm always about like shedding the spotlight on really, really cool games that don't really, get that sort of like spotlight because they're not as popular. And I do that. I feel like I do the same for speedrun categories. Mega Man on the Sega Genesis, absolutely great. I feel like I with my submission videos, or even like if you've like watched like the streams, for the people that have watched the streams, I think I've been able to sell the game quite eloquently. Especially if you're not a fan of the NES and like the hardware limitations. Mega Man 3 had like a whole bunch of lag. Mega Man 3 on the Sega Genesis has 80% less lag.
I did check. So assuming GDQ VODs has everything accurate, it looks like Wily Wars was in once in SGDQ 2015. So it's been a minute.
Then it's high time. It's high time for either Mega Man 1 for the Sega Genesis or Mega Man 3 for the Sega Genesis to make their way in. And I feel like, I mean, honestly, with whatever game that gets in, I'll be thankful. But like, I've really put a lot of time into Mega Man, and I think that'd be something cool to show off. The Castlevania Rondo of Blood submission is also done on my hitbox, and I also love demonstrating hitbox runs. And if there's like a donation incentive to show the hand cam, like I love having incentives being met. So like I think that's a really cool one to do as well.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed watching. It was the Zangetsu one, right, where you did the hand cam. That was fun. I don't know. We already talked about the sticks, but it definitely love to see it. I also noticed that you prompted some people. You were asking online on Twitter, what other people were submitting. I'm just curious if you were to shout out any other submission that you saw when you were asking the field. Is there anything you're like, oh, I really hope this gets in?
You know what? Let's do a little predictions segment right now.
We got a few hot predictions
because there's a lot. There's a lot. Let me try to like go back to the tweet because I feel like with my first GDQ performance being in 2016 and kind of like growing with a lot of the community, like now, like. There are a lot of mutuals that like play really kick-ass games that I just cannot like push enough to get in. So like it'd be great. I am really trying to find this. There it goes. So we got my good old friend Argic. Now Argic has good old Sonic Spinball and Sonic Adventure DX in there. I love Sonic Adventure DX, Sonic Story. Sonic Spinball is such a strong meme for me, but I know someone skilled like Argic can make that game work and make that game so entertaining to like watch. Like, he's someone that I really like, like look up to, like as an equal when it comes to really using your voice to make the game, to sell the game while you're playing the game. Like, and I think to some degree he does it a little bit better than I do.
No, he has incredible energy.
But he absolutely does. But I think that like Argic is 100% like a strong pick for that. What else do we have here? What else do I want? So a Castlevania game that I want to happen. Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. Dracula X for the Super Nintendo is kind of like Bad Rondo. It gets a reputation for a Bad Rondo, but it's definitely its own game. There are a lot of access stolen from like Rondo to kind of like craft it up, but it's definitely another cool category. Maria's not in that one, so maybe we can get both of them side by side. But it is another Richter game. There's a lot of cool movement tech for it as well. A lot of good music, and I just kind of like that era of classic Castlevania. Not really a fan of like NES 1 through 3, but love like Rondo of Blood. Kind of love this game. But yeah, and that's also good.
Man, Bad Rondo sounds like that's real close to a Lady Gaga song. I couldn't help but think about that.
Yeah. GDQ could have a Bad Rondo. Yeah. Oh, whoa. We also got. We'll do. Do one more. Especially when kind of piggybacking onto like games or game types that I like watching, but probably never do. 3D Mario. Samurai Man wants to do Super Mario Sunshine, and also a variant of that, Super Mario Sunburn, which is kind of like more of like an open world and also arranged stages and all that stuff. Really love like twists of games, especially since they're now happening to like the 3D PS2 GameCube era of like like these sort of like modifications, we'll call them. And like not only does it show like how well a speedrunner can go through all of these extremely hard levels, but it really shows like the amount of dev work that went into that modification to begin with. Like one of the cool speedruns from like GDQ 2016 or something like that was like Mega Man 4 Burst Chase Air Slide B-Cast, and you're like, what is this? This is a classic Mega Man. This is absolutely incredibly fast and all that stuff. Like, I want to see more modifications, more ROM hacks like make it into GDQ as well.
Yeah, no, there's some really cool ones out there. I'm just gonna shout out because I love it every time I see it. There is like a Sonic the Hedgehog classic golf. I forget what it's called. It's called like Solf or there's someone, maybe someone else knows what I'm talking about. But the idea is that you play Sonic like 3, for example, with Sonic effectively as like a golf ball, and you have to like aim him and then like swing and shoot him. I forget, it's got like a real like crunchy name to it, but I want to say I think that's a Liz Star submission though. I don't I've definitely seen.
Oh, Liz's submissions are really good as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that was just going to be. I was like, but anyway, but yes, the modifications are really good. I like seeing more of them, and hopefully that'll just continue. That is something that we can hope for in the future. I'm just doing no. All right, we're not finding it. I was hopeful. Like, oh, Snolf. It's called Snolf. Wait a second.
Snolf.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know who DeWolf is. I hope I'm not spoiling them, but Snolf is Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but with golf controls. It's good. It's good. I promise. If you want to see what that looks like, find it. Speaking of things that are good for your health, one of the things I always like to ask on this podcast, we're all getting older, but we still keep playing games. Do you do anything in terms of healthcare for your hands, wrist, or other things in relation to gaming? To avoid injury from repetitive strain.
Yeah, I've especially with me being like just like a sort of like active person to begin with. Whenever I like did like my line of work, I was bar back, and I also was like bar staff at a really popular bar in Northeast Ohio. So like I got a lot of like my physical activity like that way, but also for like taking care. I mean, like, hydration is definitely a thing. Staying up on like the vitamins and minerals are definitely a thing as well. I got, I have a sort of like partnership with Gamer Substat that gets me like all I need for, that sort of thing. Starting to look into like, compression gloves as well, because like for speed running, and this is like also why I also look into hitbox and like other ergonomic methods to control my character in like speed runs, is that like, my big meaty claws, this big old hands like right here, cramping over a small controller like that definitely does not bode well for like, long-term extended use. So I honestly think like that, like having something like that, or like looking into an alternative, like, comfortable controller option is like a first big step for self-care, especially if you're trying to like, work with your hands and in speed running or content creation or whatever you want to be doing. Especially since, you work with your hands, in real life as well as, with content creation, or if you do competitive gaming, I know a lot of Melee players, really grind away at the GameCube controllers, but that's also a bit detrimental on the hands, So I'm also, I'm slowly looking into more things to add to the workflow and regimen for, like the self-care, or self-care for the physical, like side of things, keeping topped up rather.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's the best thing to do, right? Like if you're in a place where nothing is going wrong, like do still look into preventative steps, because if something does start to crop up, you want to be ready, to really head that off at the pass. You did mention there controllers, and usually I expect this to happen. I expect a segue from a health discussion to a favorite and least favorite controllers discussion. Come on, I want your takes.
We'll start with the least favorite. And we'll probably do some like a couple of slam dunks real first. But the first Xbox Duke controller, get that out of my face. I don't know if my big hands can't wrap around those, and those like really like stale feeling, jelly bean feeling control buttons and all that stuff, could not rock with. Maybe it was because like I didn't grow up with like Xbox or anything like that, but like that Duke, it was just absolutely like, it was unwieldy. Like I tried to play a regular game on it. Like maybe it was the best for Halo, maybe it was the best for, insert competitive whatever here. But I tried to play something like, I don't know, Grab by the Ghoulies or something where I have to jump. And I am completely just overwhelmed with this controller and just like how hard it is to press multiple things at the same time. Let's see, another bad controller. Maybe just because I'm so handy-handed, but what do they call it? Not the DualShock. Someone brought that up. The 6-axis PS3 controller, I thought was like lighter than plastic. I thought,
why you gotta do this to my man? I love this controller. This is the best PlayStation controller. All right.
Don't let me hold that controller, because with one press of the square button, it will immediately cease to function. I feel like I am holding a newborn baby every time that I hold that controller. I feel like with the most like delicate, like, you know, like I feel like I have to handle it with the most delicate and utmost of care, because like I press anything in. This is the controller we're talking about. I press anything in like a little bit too much, and then just or like or something snaps off or something like that. It's just incredibly light. I like, I don't know, like maybe it's the best for you, but like I like the heftiness of the DualShock 3. I like the rotors. I like, you know, like just heftiness. It felt like a more solid build, you know. But it will never compare to, I think, the very first DualShock for the not the first dual analog, but the first DualShock for PlayStation 1.
That is a difference. That is,
yes. I feel like with I have one right here. Like with this thing, it's like the most solid build. If this holds up strong today. Yeah. You know, like face buttons, this D-pad, how it's just kind of like firm. I know, it's great.
It is pretty cool.
Like I like firm presses. I like I like good build. I've definitely dropped this thing a bunch of times, and like it's still work. Like it just feels like a good build, you know. And let's see, another good controller. I mean, I'm kind of like excluding like fight sticks and all that out of the equation.
Sure.
Let's see, another good one. Probably, I really like the Xbox One controller. Mm-hmm. Like not just this one. This is a Series 2 like Elite controller. But the thing about like the Xbox controller to begin with is that I love the D-pad, like the little micro switches that they have in a D-pad. I absolutely enjoy for 2D platforming. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really good, comfortable like hold in the hand. I think that the even like the buttons and the triggers up at top don't take all that long, or don't take all that effort to like press or anything like that. Oh, excuse me. And like the haptic triggers for haptic vibration motors rather for like the supported games, like definitely feels great as well. And it's congruent, and it plugs into a PC, so you can do both of your PC runs with that without having to configure any other Steam Big Picture mode or anything like that. Like it just works. Like it's just kind of tried and true,
Yeah, no, you're not. That's you got to just roll with what works for you, and I find like those controllers are just super solid workhorses. Well, we're on the subject of hardware equipment here, and particularly a lot of the runs that we have kind of touched on here are runs that are retro. You mentioned building up your retro collection again, and something I wanted to ask about, because I get wildly different answers about this, but people have a lot of different approaches when it comes to how they're playing older consoles today. And when I'm talking about that, what I specifically mean, of course, is like what TV are you using? How are you capturing it? How are you converting the signal? Do you have a particular approach that you stick to when it comes to playing your Super Nintendo or playing your PlayStation?
When I started speedrunning, I was kind of all about monitor. Well, I was all about LCD. Mm-hmm. Having a lot of the kind of like high end equipment that we used from fighting games, like like the kind of high end Asus monitors back then, back in like 2012, 2013. I had already, like, even if there was like a small amount of delay, 2 millisecond, I was still able to like adapt to it. And I really as a kid back then did not want to go out and find another CRT that would take up a lot more space in my room and all that stuff. And especially since I already have gotten used to the timing with it, and it's pretty normal in competitive fighting games, I thought bringing it over to speedrunning was pretty good. So when it came to that, I had a monitor, and I still have a monitor right now, which is 1 millisecond, 144 hertz, all that stuff. Was always an LCD person. With the classic consoles, I do have a retro Tink. Okay. That really, really nice, affordable, lagless. It has the Pro has a RGB compatibility, so I have a couple HD Retrovision cables for my respective consoles. Because I know, and this is another reason why I don't like playing on CRT, because those things will definitely fade after, for if you don't know how to take care of a CRT yourself and your own, they will wear out on you extremely quickly, especially today. Especially when it comes to picture quality. I like crisp, I like precise, sharp visual quality. That's why I wanted to RGB everything up, and the LCDs have a really good way of displaying how crisp the pixels really are, and especially streamed to them. So that's been my loadout for pretty much ever. If it wasn't passed through from a capture card, it was definitely something like this, something like a StarTech USB 3 and all that stuff for that portable capture as well.
So this is a very specific question. Does the RetroTink have the issue with when the PlayStation 1 switches resolutions, or is that a solution that avoids that issue? Do you know what I'm talking about?
What specifically are you talking about?
So, all right. So maybe you don't counter it then. I always forget which setups. So in PlayStation 1, games will often switch between 240p and 480i. The most common thing, this is Chrono Cross is a famous example. There's others where it'll be 480i menus and 240p gameplay. And so some solutions, for example, if you're using something that's trying to track what the resolution is so it can appropriately convert it, like an OSSC, you'll end up falling flat in your face for 2 seconds because the resolution changes.
So unfortunately, that does not. There's no bypass around that with the RetroTink. I know exactly what you're talking about now, because on the Sega Genesis, there are some resolution changes between menu and gameplay with Castlevania Bloodlines.
Okay.
And that's also why I opted to use PC Classic Castlevania Anniversary Collection for that, because as much as I wanted to use that hardware, just could not bypass that issue. So apparently there is going to be future models of the RetroTink that are going to bypass that, which I fully and firmly believe that it's going to work. I'm super in love with my Pro, and I kind of buying something again kind of established that brand loyalty to me.
Sure.
So or for me, so
it's definitely interesting now that we're seeing so many of these accessories for consoles. I haven't, I'll be honest, I've mostly kind of cheaped out on my converters, but I am unfortunately very much into some of the optical drive emulators that have been coming out for systems like the PlayStation, Saturn, Dreamcast.
Yes.
Have you gotten in any of that stuff? It sounds like you know what I'm talking about.
No, I absolutely want to though. I'm slowly building everything up. So I just got the recent thing that I acquired was a Mega EverDrive X7. Okay. I want to slowly work to do that to my old PlayStation and my Dreamcast, because my Dreamcast was also a really, really good source of childhood memories for me, and would love to just I would love to just explore that category of just Dreamcast games, especially Diamonds in the Rough. Especially since Dreamcast, that era should be solidified into retro category now. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I always, I mean, everyone has their own definition, but I will say Retro Gaming Live TV, as far as I know, when they do Retrothon, they now accept up through, I think, 2005 or 2006. So it sounds good to me.
Oh, that's legal. PSP. All right,
right?
Let's submit some Maverick Hunter X to Retrothon. Oh, I absolutely love those guys. Yeah. If you didn't know, part of like Retro Gaming Live for a couple of months back there, maybe in like 2016, 2017. They're like nothing but like the best of staff. Like they really work hard. Yeah, they really work hard to bring a lot of varied retro gaming content. A very ever an all-inclusive community that's just steadily growing. I was there when they were trying to all collectively get partnership as a channel. Like been there through, you know, like those, you know, like highs and lows and struggles, but like to see them blossom into like something, you know, really cool to bring really, you know, varied retro content through events year in and year out. Like super proud of them. Like but like, you know, super shout outs to
RGL. Please, I welcome to it. I mean, I'll be doing runs in Retrothon coming up, and you know, too, I got a local connection to them that I'm very grateful for, because the live event that they do, Next Level Speedrun Showcase, is in the Philadelphia area in South Jersey, and that's where I am, and so I'm able to go to that and participate in it. Hopefully when it is, you know, safe and appropriate to do so, again, you know, I can get to reconnect with all those folks in person. Definitely a very good event. If anyone's listening and you're a speedrunner in the Philadelphia area, it is 100% worth the drive. And some people travel farther, which, you know, obviously shout outs to them as well. Let's see where we're going from here. I guess we could start. So the way this is structured, folks, we're gonna have some Q&A. So if you have questions for Bobby here, start cooking those up. We'll start heading towards the sort of wrap up of the formal part of the pod. Part of what I like to do, this is an interview series, and I like to get a question from my previous guest for my next guest. And so my previous guest was Matt Apocalypse, a Souls runner, apparently also a Street Fighter player. I didn't know that before I invited him on.
Nice.
But he had traveled to tournaments, you know, the NorCal regionals and Evo and all that. So that was a cool surprise from that interview. But apparently, when I asked him for a question, he was fixated on a singular game, and so he decided that he was going to make his question all about that game. And that question is, have you played Nier Automata, and did you get through all the endings?
Nope.
No.
No. I played through Nier Automata. I did not get through all the endings. I think I have 3 endings, and one of them is a bad ending where you eat a fish or something. I got Nier Automata when for my birthday from a friend of mine, and I definitely like played through it. But there's really a lot to that game, and like I feel like to be like a really big fan of that game is to understand, like, at least like on the surface level, like its lore, its universe, and all of that stuff. I loved the gameplay, but I just like I feel like there was just like other things like occupying my time, you know, like I love the music, I love the aesthetics of it. Maybe I should just, you know, revisit that, especially since the new Nier's going to be coming out
soon. Yeah. Now that does mean that I do need from you a question for my next guest. It doesn't have to be about speedrunning. Obviously, this question was a general gaming question. Question will be answered by a speedrunner. Could be about anything. I've had questions about music, about food. Do you have something that you would like to relay to the next OverBoost guest?
Man, we never really talked that much about music. So, if there was a soundtrack to your life, what genre of music would it be? Now you can specify that, you know, they can specify like, you know, a certain like album or a group, but I feel like you can go into a really nice subject about, you know, about like genre. You know, a lot of motivation and a lot of like how you feel is definitely driven by like what you listen to. You know, a lot of mood drivers there. So, and I'm really, you know, there are a lot of like really good, you know, music theory, music makers, you know, in I was gonna say fighting game community, in speed running. And it's really nice to hear like, you know, like their thoughts about, you know, what really gets them going when it comes to music. So like if they have like if they would have like a soundtrack, what genre would it be? Or you know, like what, you know, what kind of music would it be?
No, that's a good one. Yeah, I was gonna say I often lurk the streams of the guest, in preparation for the interview. And today, I had you on while I was doing my day job, and you had some good beats going. You during, I think you were playing. Was it Metavalian? Was that the name of the?
Yeah, we were playing Metavalian, and then we were going to, and I was just hopping up my lo-fi playlists. I absolutely love like the whole like lo-fi nujabes, sort of like vibe. It's really good to walk to, really good to think to, study to, really good background noise, and I really like how people can take like subtle sounds and make it into a melodic masterpiece. So, low key, because lo-fi. But.
Of course. How about upcoming games that you are excited to play? What is on the horizon that you are interested in getting up with?
Oh, that new TMNT game that's coming out. Again, coming back to finally reliving some good old side-scrolling beat 'em up series like. That a lot of the TMNT games were either in the arcades or on NES, and that's the games that people remember fondly. I think that this new TMNT game coming out is going to be pretty kick-ass. And when the world becomes safer, like I hope a game like that brings back some really killer, some couch co-op vibes. Sitting next to your buddy and laughing because you're bashing someone's face in. I really, really like games that could provide that sort of experience. It's highly why I like indie games like Guacamelee and all that. But things like that.
No, that's very, very good. Yeah, man, I hope for the return of couch co-op, more couch co-op stuff. That's gonna feel so cathartic to be able to do that. Who should people, if you could put more eyeballs on someone instantly, who around in the community needs more people watching them?
Oh, for speedrunning?
For speedrunning, yeah. I mean, if you want to mention other people too, you're welcome to.
No, I have number one, and that I interact with is so great. But this one guy, and you should probably know him. I've been talking about Castlevania Symphony of the Night for a good part of this stream, but his name is Dragon Blitz. Dragon Blitz is a young, fired up speedrunner content creator. Just today, he took like pretty much all of the non-glitched, and glitched Alucard Symphony of the Night categories in speedrunning, and that's something that I don't think has ever been done before by a single, but not Rom Scout, not nobody. And when it comes to Symphony of the Night being one of like everyone's like kind of like favorite game, it's where people were inspired to make their own indie games, Metroidvanias and all of that stuff. Like Symphony of the Night is so great, and a lot more eyes need to be on that game to begin with. A lot more than just randomizer, a lot more than just these, on and off GDQ appearances. My dude Dragon Blitz puts a lot of work into, optimize these routes, and just that like his stream is pretty much like a good home for Symphony of the Night. I just wish that more eyes were on him, and because he definitely needs that credit. Like, he deserves all of that credit,
No, absolutely. I feel like, sometimes I get the perception that people almost think of that as like a game in speedrunning history, but not actively being speedrun, but that's not the truth. Like,
nope.
The game is being run now, and new things.
Yeah, and at a high level, and with still so many young members of the speedrunning community, and I feel like they will they along with us will overtake other preferred channels in speedrunning, like when they eventually do something else, we gotta lift ourselves up, and then when the time comes, definitely pass the torch to people who definitely deserve it.
Now, where should people be looking for your stuff? What's the best stuff to find and check out?
I do Twitch stuff every weekday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, and I do some like weekend content, but I just kind of like leave those to myself. I leave nights and weekends to myself to either chill out, video edit, hang out with my partner, like things like that. And I love being I think like with like the audience that I kind of like have gathered, like being a morning show is definitely in my like it's definitely like my brand. Like especially if I'm trying to make it like a show, especially if I'm trying to like keep things together and scheduled and all that stuff, and people kind of like vibe with that. You feed like the lo-fi content, with like I'm definitely not a mic peaking 100% of the time, extremely LFG pog, but this is definitely like what you're hearing right now is definitely like what you're going to be getting, and I think that's definitely like on brand for like the morning show. So that's it. Twitter, I'm also like really active on Twitter. We do a lot of social activism as well. There's still a lot of injustices going on, and as much as I would love to run away and play video games and shield myself from all of it, these are conversations that must be had, especially not from not only my point of view, but from other people not like me that are experiencing the same damn thing. So if you want some of that, I know and a lot of it's not fun to ingest, but Twitter is definitely where I'm most active. And then Discord, we have a whole bunch of people in there, around 600 folks. We love playing games with each other, Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy 14, and all that stuff. So yeah, those are pretty much like the main avenues.
Awesome. Yeah, and of course too, I always make it clear in anything that I do, try to have a pretty explicitly leftist and inclusive bent, and the stuff that you've been posting about is necessary and important, and I encourage people to engage with it. It is so important, even if you feel like I mean, like you generally, the listener, feel like you're able to get away from it. A lot of people aren't, and that's that is very important to address and engage and to to follow through on that. So do absolutely follow Bobby on Twitter. But but no, it's good. Also, I want to say too, I mentioned earlier I was lurking during my work hours, and certainly I think that idea of a morning show, I guess it's more morning for West Coast than East Coast, and it's like afternoon for East Coast, but definitely good material to have on in the background, a fun variety of games. So I definitely applaud it. I put the links into chat here. If you're here with us live, if you're listening after the fact on YouTube or Spotify, iTunes, etc., you can find all of the links to Bobby's channels in the show notes in the description. And now we're going to conclude the formal part. So again, thank you so much for giving me this time. And I need one more thing from you, which is that I'm going to use a cheesy catchphrase, like "Let's boost on out of here." And when I say that, I need your best rocket engine noise.
my best rocket engine noise.
Yes.
like lifting off, blasting off.
Yeah, like taking off. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. I like this. All right,
folks. Thank you so much for listening. Let's boost on out of here. That was good. Yo, we took off. We got out of orbit. We're going.
We gone.
We did it.
We gone.
You cut out a little bit at the end there because I think Discord decided you were just making noise. Which, I mean, to be fair, you were. So, but it was beautiful. We had a good lift off. The mic couldn't keep up with you taking off.
It's space up there. You can't hear nothing.
It's difficult. All right, we were already getting some good questions in chat here. So the plan right now, we are on the front page of speedrun.com for a good another 25 minutes. So I need your best here. And I think the very first one I think was Apache. How do you feel about things like turbo and mappable controllers for speedruns?
Mappable controllers. So I feel like turbo should, if there is an official controller that everyone can get that has turbo, like in the turbo graphics, right? That actually has like a built-in like turbo function like in it. I feel like it should be fine, especially for like speed runs of RPGs with extremely lengthy text boxes and like, you know, those categories are like 6, 7, 8 hours. I really don't want to be doing this like all day. Do you really feel like I don't want to be having to do this for like 10 hours? You know, like if there is an easy to get like way for like turbo, and that's like officially licensed, which means that like a lot of these brands have to really get on board with like accessibility and making sure that everyone can play their video games. Then yes, like it should be acceptable, because like that is like the only way some people can play video games. Like some people can't like rapidly tap or anything. Some people can't play, high level like Mega Man X or anything like that, because like, you know, their bodies can't really keep up. Like that's kind of shitty, you know?
Yeah.
It's when it comes to button remapping, like that's another like tough subject, because we definitely want to like include like a lot of folks in. I'd like it when games themselves have the ability to remap certain functions, certain binds. There's definitely for a lot of these newer games, like you can double tap to dash with a character, or you can straight out press a button, or you can hold that button. You know, like there's a really like gray line between like what the game like is intended to be played, and I really hate like throwing that into the fray. And also, like, how can I play this game that that makes it comfortable and like honestly cool for me to play? You know?
Yeah, I definitely think there's an element there of, and this can be hard, but of letting go of what you think is intended. I've always enjoyed. I think it was the developer of Celeste who talked about adding in different modes for accessibility and things like that, and being like, I designed this to be a tough as nails 2D platformer, but I also needed to understand that the level of challenge that I designed maybe for myself or for a certain audience, that doesn't really universally apply, and so you just can't give that to everyone. It just not going to happen.
Yeah. I really like when things about things like this are called into discussion, because it forces discussion to move forward in a better direction when it comes to including everyone who wants to be a part of what we enjoy. So like maybe back then I'd be like, only Mad Catz controllers had turbo. No, screw that. No. But like now it's definitely like, you kind of have to open your eyes and like see like people definitely want to enjoy the same thing that you do. Let's work together, especially in like competitive speedrunning. Let's work together to figure out something that works, that is fair for all parties.
Now remember, folks, you have chances to throw in questions here. I got a few here in the queue still, but of course feel free to throw in some more. Coca asks, what is your favorite video game soundtrack?
Favorite video game soundtrack. I'm gonna put two out because one is a fighting game. It's a newer fighting game called Killer Instinct. And like the score is headed by Mick Gordon. You might have heard his works from like Doom. Like the really rippin' tear genty. I love that. Like that just screams at me, honestly. Like there's a whole bunch of I really, really like when especially a fighting game soundtrack just kind of like evolves with the times, you know. Tekken was definitely like in the same manner where, you know, there was like a lot of rock themes to a lot of this electro stuff. Killer Instinct have like a lot, like the best of all worlds. You had some really nice, you know, like rock, metal, gent type. You had some really good you know, electronica, some good dubstep for, you know, for, again, like just like little tastes of like every genre. A lot of good, you know, like world music, a lot of, you know, a lot of nice Gaelic chants, like a lot of these, you know, elements that could speak out to like pretty much everyone. Like, yeah, like we're talking about a 2013 Killer Instinct. The killer cuts were really good as well. 2013, again, headed by Mick Gordon, was absolutely amazing. It's on streamable. It's streamable pretty much everywhere. I suggest you take a look to it. Season 1 and season 2.
Cool.
Honestly,
one. Never sleep on fighting game soundtracks. I feel like
you can't.
I every time someone links me like a classic like Versus series soundtrack or a classic King of Fighters soundtrack, it always blows me away.
Yeah, like don't go out on a run and don't don't like have that be your workout music if you want to be insanely pumped. Like the Mick Gordon stuff is just absolutely amazing. He just does great work. But yeah, the other soundtrack, personally for me, I think Final Fantasy X has a pretty perfect soundtrack. Just including like, again, all of like the worldly aspects of Spira and like, you know, the instruments that they would probably use there, and like it's amazing. The atmospheric events, even like the far plane, the, you know, Mount Gagazet, like all of it seemed really, really anthem like, and also extremely catchy at the same time. Like that would probably be like one of my soundtracks. Like if we were to ask that question, that if there was
the one that you're giving to the next guest.
Yeah.
Now, actually, you mentioned music earlier. Like we didn't talk about music. Do you play any music? Is that something that you've done? Because I feel like there's always some interplay between. Because in my mind, I always feel like music, speedrunning, fighting games. There's a lot of people who are on different parts of that triangle. There's a lot of
overlap, right?
Yeah.
I was heavily involved in music ever since I want to say like high school, and like I jumped through like a whole bunch of genres just because like I enjoy a whole bunch of genres. I went from a kind of shoddy garage cover band in high school to performing on main stage to one of the this is something we haven't got to, but we performed main stage on my birthday in one of the most popular like underground venues for the Cleveland music scene, which isn't there anymore. It got torn down like a couple of years back. Okay. But like being part of like a bigger kind of like more like refined band and like all that stuff, like I like back then I was like huge heavy metal kid. Oh my god, I could scream my lungs out. People were like, "Oh, you're like the next Howard Jones, huh?" And like I honestly loved that joke, let me tell you. Anyways, thank you, you get it. But no, like from going to like, you know, garage band stuff to like performing in front of like hundreds. Like I always felt like music would be like a really, really big part of like whatever I did. So like even though I kind of like left those, you know, band projects and all that, I still sort of like, you know, made music with a couple buddies of mine, you know, made a couple rock, a couple, you know, R&B and like all that stuff. Again, a lot of genre jumping because like, well, because why not? Like exploring with with different genres is like so amazing. And I mostly do like a lot of like the writing and like the singing. So like I love writing to different things. I love singing to different things, and I love putting emotion into them as well. So like I've done a lot of those performances, and like right now, like I guess we could plug the SoundCloud. This is a podcast, so absolutely. SoundCloud.com/TheBlacktastic. The single Morning from 2 years ago is absolutely fantastic. One of my best pieces and one of the most like fun projects I've done with my mate Dylan. So yeah, definitely take a peek at that. I definitely want to do some more music stuff in the future when things become safe and I can start traveling freely. Because that's a passion that will never leave me. Like speedrunning is something that I will definitely do, but my body will not be able to do it anymore, which will suck. But I will always be able to do music, and I'll always be able to express thoughts and write lyrics and all that stuff for as long as I'm able.
Yeah, that's one of the funny things about music. Obviously, we're both going to keep playing games as long as possible, but music definitely has that feel that the last thing I'm going to be doing probably is the music. That's going to keep working throughout all the other things. Dilwingo had a question here, I think fresh from the PlayStation Nation, which was Ratchet or Jack?
Sorry, I got to go with Jack. I'm sorry. Jack is my boy. Jack and Daxter was like that Naughty Dog revival. I'm sorry, baby boy. I am so sorry. But okay. You know how Bloodstain is the spiritual successor to Castlevania and all that stuff. Jack and Daxter was definitely the next Crash Bandicoot Crash type. At least the precursor legacy was making it go that way. And I absolutely adored that game. The game's visuals were good, platforming so amazing, speedruns are good.
We're getting feeling a betrayal here.
Apparently that's a hot take. Apparently Jack and Daxter, one of the most successful Naughty Dog franchises that spawned a lot of sequels and all that stuff, is just not a popular pick. Jack and Daxter is amazing. Say what you will about Jack 2 and 3 and whatever came after that, but precursor legacy, especially now, I have it on my PS4 or PS5. I want to speedrun that soon. It's really nice. It's an honest platformer. It'll humble you at some points, some moments, but there is a really, really great charm with Jack and Daxter, and to your extent, Ratchet and Clank. There's that charm that you will just be instantly hooked to it. The grody, crude quips by Daxter, that had me split. My sides were split as a kid. I don't care. But, yeah, it's the way that the game was it was extremely well written, and especially when you don't have that much of a narrative behind the main character himself, the silent protagonist, and all that stuff. They did really well with building the world around him.
I always forget that. I gotta be honest, as much as I call myself a PlayStation kid, I was always so lost in RPGs and first person shooters. I really haven't played that many of the classic platforming series. I have never played a Jack, never played a Ratchet. So
but we were talking about Croc, and come on,
I played Croc, and then I was like, you know what, that's good. That meets the quota.
It is the go game. Yeah. I'm so glad that this era is this year for me. I like to call these platform, or these game platforms of speedruns, these little segments eras. I spent a lot of good time with Mega Man 9, and that the Wii, and that was an era. I did a lot of good stuff with Mega Man 7 and Castlevania 4 on Super Nintendo. Now with this thing, this 90K, a lot, this PlayStation Nation, Ape Escape, all these other platforms that we just mentioned, Spyro, Crash, it's really there's a whole nother level then.
Yeah,
absolutely whole nother level.
There's a whole universe out there once you start cracking the PS2 stuff. It's really you can just go down such a deep hole. Folks, we still got another 10 minutes or so. So I see some people here in the chat. So if you got any questions you want to throw out, I'm always going to throw out my easy question to make my life simpler, which is, are there people that you'd like to see on this podcast?
Are there people that I would like to see on this podcast?
Who needs to tell their origin story? What needs to be discovered?
I mean, I would like to. I would like to see a lot more. Actually, is like a really good question. Like, I want to like scroll down like a Discord list or like something like there are a lot of people with like varied like backgrounds and like, you know, varied like genres of speedrunning. Like I know there's a whole bunch like honestly with the whole people that I wanted to watch but like never play, like the whole like Sekiro, like if you haven't had like Lil Aggie on there, like, Soulsborne guys, like I feel like they're like, you know, like a really, really nice treat to look into like their history, especially for like these new games that have like come out and like how highly optimized these games have been like to begin with, you know. Especially with like, you know, like Soulsborne. I would love to see that. Let's see about, I don't know, let's talk about, you know, Dragon Blitz and like his, you know, Castlevania Symphony of the Night adventures. I want to see like, you know, like varied, like, you know, popular and varied, like, you know, like rising star as like you know, like people on here, like because like I know a lot of, you know, like popular people like, you know, like Carsey or like Arcus that could like really shed a lot of light onto, you know, like background and like behind the scenes stuff. And then there's just a whole bunch of like, you know, like rising stars, you know, a whole bunch of people that, you know, or rather a clear like handful of, you know, a clear few that are basically skyrocketing in like popularity just because like, you know, either how good they are at the game or how you know how nice they are as a, you know, as a person, you know, how explosive their personality is, you know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been one of my objectives to, I think, to mix around the right, because there's other speedrun interview podcasts out there and they do good jobs. But I definitely feel like there were genres being underserved. Souls is definitely one of them. I definitely feel like there are a lot of great Souls runners, and you know, I wasn't seeing their stories necessarily being told. You know, like horror is another one I always mention. There's like a ton of great horror runners. Yeah. I feel like I don't hear a lot about them. But also the other part of it too. One of my inspirations is because when this project started, it was focused on mecha stuff because it's like I have an interest in like mecha anime stuff.
Yeah,
and. I talked to Peaches. Do you know Peaches?
Yes, actually, yeah.
An incredible font of history. Just like his speedrunning goes back early 2000s. You know, the websites I had never heard of for leaderboards, things like that. And I was like, wait a second. There's like, and like he, you know, he's just sitting on this knowledge and isn't telling anyone. So like, definitely, you know, talking to people who've been around. But also, you know, highlighting people that are coming up and understanding how they got into it, because I think that's really important too. You know, it might feel boring to hear for like the 20th time that, oh yeah, I learned about speedrunning through GDQ, but like it's still important to know, I think, how people are getting into the scene and what impact that has.
Especially when it comes to like the year that they came in, you know, either watching these events or like watching some speedrunner adjacent content on Twitch or something like that. Because like these conventions, these meetups, and like these types of people that we interact with like day in and day out were vastly different to, you know, 10 years ago as opposed to now. You know, like you know, what sort of like prominent, you know, like faces of speedrunning did you see at those events back then compared to now? Like I feel like having that sort of like, you know, like comparison is definitely necessary for that insight into like the whole behind the scenes and the growth of things.
Yeah,
like honestly, within this era, like things skyrocketed. Like the esports contracts for speedrunning, well, okay, all right, what how many figures are we talking? Hello, like it just kind of like blew up. Like we literally just went, and I can't even just say we, because like I came in at like 2015 2014, but like the fact that like people went from submitting recorded speed runs on their VHS to the Speed Demos Archive, Graybeard Coven, and consulting with the council and frame counting and all that. Yeah, from all of that, putting all that work with our content, working out of our basement or apartment or anything like that, to the breadth of amount of content that we can create, the communities that we've curated and that we've formed and all that stuff. Like now, that's extremely important to document. That's extremely important.
Yeah, it's an ongoing project, especially to know what it was like at that point in time. With speedrunning and documenting speedrunning history, I think there's often an interesting discussion of I love it. I don't know if you've ever done this or encountered this. I love it when I see runners be like, I'm gonna do a GTA Vice City run circa 2013, or something like that, where they kind of revisit it, because there was a period of time where with a completely different set of strats or a completely different type of game, people were just playing it over and over again, and that's what you did, and you had memes and jokes about all of that, and then someone finds a different way of doing it, and people lose interest in that old way because they want to do the faster way because it's speedrunning. Surprise. But that's still a part of the history, in the same way that even with games online as a service, my fondest memories of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will always be the period of time in which they had fog maps. I thought the fog maps were the funniest thing in the world. And apparently I am weird, but I already knew that. But you can't do that. I don't think you can. I haven't played that game in a while, but I'm pretty sure they got rid of those forever.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that was like a fog of war concept from League of Legends put into that game. I thought if they would have kept that in there, I thought it would have just been a feature. But I mean, hey. Community feedback. That's what it gets,
right? That's what happens. You end up throwing that away, for sure. Oh man. So are you still active with fighting games stuff? Because I was kind of trawling around. I noticed that last summer I saw you there was some stuff on your YouTube channel, but I wasn't sure how much you keep up with that part of things.
Yeah, so every month or so, I putting on a fighting game tournament. Sometimes I do Street Fighter, sometimes I do Marvel and other games. But it's called the Black Cup because why not? And it's basically I basically did it because one, with my mounting work schedule, back then, I started doing this idea back in 2017, mounting work schedule, working 2 jobs and all that stuff. Sure. I did not have the ability to go out and to local fighting games and local fighting game events and meetups and all that stuff. So I just wanted to pretng everything here, to where I could, control every, produce everything and make sure, nothing, breaks, pretty much. And I definitely love just giving people a platform to just, strut their stuff, because a lot of people who can't really go out and travel to these events obviously turn to online for the next best thing for when it comes to competition, and you don't see that in offline, but you do see a lot of these really bright, pretty young minds that are extremely sharp and extremely competitive, and that's extremely what I want to see, what I want to showcase, because we can talk about Justin Long, Daigo Umehara,
sure,
great he is, but let's talk about Akuma Slayer 86. Who is that guy? I want to spin a narrative around that guy, But
no, absolutely. I mean, I think
has
the other
everything.
thing is that the ongoing work of highlighting new people, it can't stop, and so providing more online opportunities, that's and it's the same thing with speedrunning too, where everyone thinks about GDQs, but there are so many great online marathons to participate. We mentioned Retrothon earlier, but there's more. There's a whole universe about them, and being aware of those is good and important. Are there any marathons that you'd want to shout out here as we're winding down to the last minute?
Yeah, let's see what's going on right now. We got Cali-thon Stand Strong going on this week and actually going on right now. They're going to be raising funds and awareness to benefit the Stop AAPI Hate Coalition. Again, really good cause, and I'm really, really honored to be, on that platform, starting this stuff. Hopefully, entertaining folks and bringing in those funds, because those marginalized groups definitely could use the help wherever and whenever they need it. And especially I like to be, I like to help my fellow brother. It's just as simple as that. These people, unlike me, are struggling with the same issues that I'm going through. I want to lend a hand. I want to help anyway. So that's going on. My performances is going to be Saturday for Mega Man 9 and Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1. A couple of I want to say classics for me. I just love demonstrating those games. Next weekend we have Game Over Cancer. Game Over Cancer is actually a yearly thing headed by Strizer 86, nonprofit event. All proceeds there go to the Canadian Cancer Society. So definitely helping on that front. It's going to be a pretty cool showcase that weekend. I'm going to be playing Mega Man 9 alongside another high-level speedrunner, Handsome Jackass. And we're doing a pretty nice showcase race. He's going to be playing Proto Man. I'm going to be playing Mega Man, and we're going to be pitting them two against each other in a race and see with their varied strats and route differences and RNG, who's going to come out on top at the end. So that I love demonstrating something like that, and there's always that cause to go through as well. I myself am running a charity initiative throughout Earth Day, benefiting Charity Water. I do a lot of viewer interactive content. We like to do a lot of crowd control extensions. We're doing one tomorrow for Super Mario World Randomizer and another game, another mystery announced game, but basically you can donate via that extension, and the extension will give you coins to activate a lot of effects in games, mess around with Bobby. But we ended up raising over $2,600 for Charity Water in that single event alone last Friday, and I hope to smash some higher goals and reach higher milestones with that charity effort tomorrow. And I think that's actually it. Besides, that's GDQ coming up, but hopefully we can get a game or two in there.
Yeah, no,
you submitted,
absolutely.
right? Yeah, you submitted, right?
Oh yeah, I submitted my usual garbage. I don't know. I mean, that's my thing, is that I always just like very kind of janky 3D games. So a lot of the stuff I submitted was True Crime New York City, the 2002 Die Hard first person shooter, the first Just Cause. I figured why not try that after Just Cause 3 went down pretty well at GDQ. Yeah, I did submit something new, Tear Down, an early access indie game about destroying things.
Really? When did that come out? I'm sorry, I just love hearing about new indie games.
Yeah, I know. So that came out in early access in November. It's $20. They have the first half of the campaign. It's this voxel based destruction game. So I know some people, a lot of people will be like, oh, I've seen this, and it's got interesting. I do the no major glitches category. There is any percent where you can do prop flying. Surprise, prop flying is fast. But I usually just do no major glitches, and that's really fun. It's just fun there's drivable vehicles. You can blow up walls, blow up buildings. The kind of the gameplay loop is a heist, so you set everything up to hit all these things that you steal, and you have to do it in 60 seconds and get to the escape vehicle once you activate the alarm. It's pretty cool. I definitely, if you're into a game of a first-person perspective, a lot of destructibility, it's definitely worth checking out. Speaking of checking out, we should go raid someone. I think we are now wrapping up the end of this lovely podcast. Where should we go? Should we go to Calathon, or do you have another raid target in mind?
I mean, hey, the big charity event is definitely still going strong with Cali Strong. They could definitely use all of the support, all the tabs open, and if you have a couple of dollars in your pocket, some charitable donations, again, they definitely do go towards protecting Asians and Pacific Islanders. So
Well, that sounds like the right place to go. So I'm going to go ahead and cue that up. Bobby, thank you so much for giving me all this time and love and attention. I hope to see you on the screen in the future, and God willing, at an event, maybe see you in person in the future. So thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for having me on this platform. This was a treat. Thank you very much for, just talking shop, and definitely would love to do it again in the future sometime.
Awesome. It's been a joy. Have a good night.
Take care.